changes in demand, then three ways of representing demand. What are the three ways? What are the three ways of representing demand? First one is demand schedule, demand curve, and demand function, right? Then changes in demand. And changes in demand, there are two types of changes. One is change in quantity demanded. In this case, demand is changed as a result of change in the price only. And there is no second demand curve. There is a movement along the same demand curve. And change in demand, in this case, change in demand is brought about by factors other than the price. And in this particular case, we find original demand curve is shifted either to the left or to the right. Then elasticity of demand, it is the percentage change in demand divided by percentage change in the price. This is price elasticity of demand. How many types of elasticities are there? There are 5 different types of elasticity. Perfectly inelastic, unit elasticity, elastic, perfectly elastic. This is how we can, in a sequence, we can remember this. And there are different type of demand curves to represent the elasticity. Then apart from this, there are 2 other elasticities, cross elasticity and income elasticity. It is the percentage change in demand brought about by percentage change in income. In case of cross elasticity is percentage change in demand divided by demand of one particular commodity divided by percentage change in the price of another commodity. It is another commodity, it may be either substitutes or complements. This is what we studied in the demand. Now we are studying the supply. Demand is one concept which is related to the customers or consumers. They come to the market with purchasing power. They place their requirement for goods and services at different prices. They behave differently. Now from the point of sellers, if we look at the availability of commodity in the market, this will be from the point of the sellers. The interest of the consumers and the interest of the sellers both are totally different. Because consumers want commodities at lower prices. Sellers, they want to sell the commodities at higher prices. There are conflicting interests in the market of these two groups of people. As a consumer, we want commodities at a cheaper price. That is our ultimate objective. But as a seller, his interest is to sell the commodity at a higher price. So, he will sell more if the price is high. And he will reduce the supply or availability of goods in the market. He will reduce the quantity if the price goes down. This is on the basis of this, there is another concept, supply, and we shall study it today. Now, what is supply? It refers to the various quantities of a good or service, it may be a service also, that the producers are willing to sell at various prices. It is the various quantities of goods or service that a producer wants to sell in the market at various prices under the condition that other things remain the same. Here also we have the concept that we have this particular clause, ceteris paribus. That means other things remaining the same. Other factors that affect supply should be constant and only price is the variable. Like in case of demand, also we have used this particular condition that other things remaining the same. Consumers, they prefer more quantities of goods at lower prices. Now, obviously, a particular farm or farms are interested to produce and sell more at a higher price. Their motivation is that if the price is more, they will release more quantities of a particular good into the market, and when price goes down, they withdraw the commodities from the market in order to avoid the loss or in order to minimize, in order to check the increasing profit. Now, this particular supply, it emphasizes the relationship between quantity offered for sale and the price. Quantity offered for sale in the market and also the price. Now, in the process, we consider other factors that can affect supply as constant. Now, suppose we make a statement. Supply of potato is 100 quintal. Again, like in case of demand also, we made this statement and we have rectified it. Is this particular statement correct? Supply of potato is 100 quintal. Do we need to add something more to make it more meaningful, or it is just not enough? It must have a reference to a particular place. Good. Because supply of potato is 100 quintal, it does not mean whether it is in a particular small town, it is in a district, or it is in the state, or in a country. It doesn't have any mention. Now, suppose I have corrected this statement, supply of potato in Jorhat market is 100 quintal. Is it enough? It must have a reference to time. Very good. So when we talk about the supply, it must have a reference to price, it must have a reference to place, and it must have a reference to time. So if we say that supply of potato at 10 rupee per kilo in Jorhat market during a week is 100 quintal, then this particular statement will be correct. So these three conditions or three components must be there in the statement of a supply. Now, another thing, is there any difference between supply and stock? Supply and stock. What is stock? It's a very common word. Stock is a very common word. Huh? Store. Yes, store. But how can you give me a small example how to differentiate these two, supply and stock? Any example? Biya khabahot jetia reception choli thake, when the reception is on, there is a man who looks after everything. Then he normally asks those who are associated with distributing the different items, stock thike ase ne? Is it not the common question that is asked? Whether the stock is okay, whether stock is all right? What is that? Suppose in your hostel, during your dinner time, you do not go all at a time to take the dinner. Normally in batches you go. Some prefer to take the dinner early, some prefer to take the dinner late. Suppose there in a hostel there are 50 students, and in the beginning, suppose there are 5 students, they are going to the dining hall. Now to make food available to these 5 students, whether all the cooked items are brought to the dining table? It is not. Only a certain quantity of all the items are brought to the dining hall to serve to these 5 students. Now at that moment, if another 10 students are coming, where from this particular commodity or all the items are brought? From the kitchen. That means in kitchen there is another sufficient quantity stored, from which in certain small quantities the goods are coming to the dining table. So if we use this particular example, the amount of foodstuff that are brought and made available on the dining table is the supply. It depends upon the number of persons coming to the dining table for dining. and the amount of foodstuff that is kept in the store or kitchen, that is what the stock is. So supply is the quantity that is offered for sale at a certain price in the market. But stock is the quantity of a particular good that can be brought to the market. It has not been brought to the market. It is in store. That can be brought to the market at a short notice. Suppose today the potato is released into the market is 5 quintal. Suddenly by noon something has happened, the potato price goes up to 20 rupees. What the sellers will do? They will bring all the potato from the stock and make it available to the market. Suppose the price goes down to 2 rupee a kilo because of certain problems. So what they will do? They will withdraw all the potato from the market and keep it in the store. This is the difference between supply and the stock. Supply is the quantity that is offered for sale, or producer is willing to sell in the market at a given price during a given period of time. At a given price during a given period of time, the quantity that the producer is willing to sell. He has brought this commodity to the market. But stock is the quantity of goods that can be brought to the market at a short notice. Quantity of a commodity that can be brought into the market at a short notice. This is also meant for selling, but producers are not bringing it into the market because there may not be enough demand for that particular commodity on that particular day. So this is the difference between supply and the stock. Supply is the quantity of goods that producers are willing to sell at a certain price during a given period of time. Stock is the quantity of goods that can be brought into the market at a very short notice. Now comes to the law of supply. As we know that a seller is interested to sell more if the price is more. And he doesn't want to sell more if the price goes down. So from this we get a direct relationship between the price of the commodity and the supply. So from this particular relationship, a law is designed, a law is formulated, and that is called law of supply. And it states that quantity sold of a good or service is positively or directly related to its own price, other things remaining the same. Other things remaining the same. That means if price of a commodity goes up, supply increases, and if the price of the commodity comes down, supply increases. If the price of the commodity goes up, supply increases, and if the price of the commodity goes down, supply decreases. Other things remaining the same. This is called the law of supply. Now, when price increases, more of the goods and services will be sold because there will be more demand. So, more goods are coming into the market. When price decreases, less of the commodity will be purchased because there will be less demand and there will be less supply also. Now, this particular law is based upon certain assumptions. We assume certain other things, and then only we find that if price increases, supply increases, and if price comes down, supply also decreases. This will happen when there is no change in the price of the related goods. Related goods, it may be substitutes or complements. And price of substitutes and complements also affect the supply. So there should not be any change in the prices of substitutes as well as the complements. This is one assumption we make for the law of supply. Second, there is no change in the state of technology. Technology means the means to produce a particular commodity. And under improved technology, we can produce more of a certain commodity at a given price. Suppose by introducing a high yielding variety, introduction of high yielding variety is a technology. Application of fertilizer is a technology. So with this technology, we can produce more, and as a result of introduction of technology, at a certain price, our supply production will increase, and this will also increase the price, increase the supply. So this technology should be constant in order to define the law of supply. There is no change in the goals of the firm. The firms or the sellers should have a constant goal. He should not have changed the goal in the process of selling the commodity. If his goal is to sell the commodity very quickly and want to get out of the business, then he will sell his stock at any price. If the price goes down also, he will sell more, and this particular phenomena goes against the law of supply. If suppose that he expects that there will be further rise in the price, so even if there is a slight change in the price of the commodity that goes up, then he will not sell. He will not make goods available in the market. So there should not be change in the goal of the entrepreneur or the firm. Then no change in the price of factors of production. In order to produce a particular commodity, we need certain factors. If it is agricultural crops, we need seed, fertilizers, pesticides, we need to spend on labor. Now if the prices of these factors goes up, ultimately our cost of production will increase. And if the cost of production increases, at the same price, we cannot sell the commodity. We shall have to increase the price also. So if the cost of factors of production goes up, then this particular law of supply also cannot be operated. Then producers do not expect any change in the price of the commodity in the near future. They expect a reasonably steady price. Then only this law can be explained. Suppose they feel that in the coming month price of certain essential commodities will go up. There is shortages of in stock, or there will be shortages of supply, so ultimately price will go up. Under that situation, what will happen? Whatever the stock sellers are having, they will not release it into the market. They will wait, they will hold the commodity, wait for the price to go up, and then they will sell it in the market. And if they feel that price will come down in the coming months, present price is slightly higher, and after 1 month the price will go down, then what will happen? They will release more commodities into the market. They will try to finish their stock because this will be more profitable for them. So these are the assumptions if we want to explain the law of supply. These are the three different ways by which we can explain the law of supply. Like demand, the similar situation we may face here also, that supply can be expressed in the form of a supply schedule, in the form of supply curve, and the third method of representing the price-supply relationship is supply function. And among these three, supply schedule is a tabular representation of price and the quantity supplied. It is a tabular method. The first method is the supply schedule, is the tabular representation of the relationship between price and quantity supplied. And this tabular representation, if we convert it into a graph paper, we get a supply curve. We get a supply curve. So this is, supply curve is nothing but graphical representation of supply schedule. Graphical representation of supply schedule. And the third form of representing the relationship between price and quantity supplied is supply function. This is nothing but a mathematical function through which the relationship is established in the form of an equation. We get an equation that brings out the relationship between price and the quantity supplied. Now, in case of demand, I told you that while explaining this law of demand, there was a cause and there was an effect. What was the cause and what was the effect? In case of law of demand, what was the cause? What was the consequent effect? If demand goes up, price comes down. Or no? If demand goes up, price comes down, and if demand goes up, কি হ'ব? মই শুদ্ধকে কৈছো নাই? Then everybody respond. If price goes up, quantity demanded falls, and if price comes down, quantity demanded goes up. That means the cause is the price. If its consequent effect is the increase or decrease in the quantity demanded. In the same case, you should be careful in explaining the law of supply. If you say the law of supply in this way, that if supply increases, price comes down. And if supply goes down, price goes up. No, it's a direct relationship. If supply increases, price also increases. If supply goes down, price also goes down. Is it correct? What will happen if supply increases? There are a lot of goods in the market. Whether the sellers will be able to sell unless they reduce the price? They will not be able to sell because there are other sellers. It is available in other market also. There is abundant supply. And if suppose there is no goods in the market, only few sellers are there, there is less supply, what will happen? The price will go up because there will be a lot of demand in the market. Here also you should be careful that price is the cause, supply is the effect. In both these two laws of demand as well as the law of supply, price is the cause. If price goes up, supply will increase, and if price comes down, supply will come down, other things remaining the same. This is the supply schedule, the first method of representing the relationship between price and quantity supplied. This is a tabular representation of different commodities offered for sale in the market at various prices by a seller. And like demand schedule, we also get two types of supply schedule. Individual supply schedule as well as the market supply schedule. Individual supply schedule is the quantity offered for sale by an individual seller at various prices. There will be two columns in the supply schedule. Quantity offered for sale by a seller at various prices constitute the individual supply schedule. Individual supply schedule. And just take an example. Individual supply schedule, Individual supply schedule is the quantity offered for sale by an individual seller at various prices. And if we express it in a tabular form, it will take this particular shape. This first two columns will indicate the individual supply schedule of farm A. There is one particular farm A. He sells 10 quintal of a certain commodity at price rupees 6 per kg. When price goes up to rupees 7, he sells 20 quintal. He makes 20 quintal available in the market. If price goes to 8 rupee per kilo, he makes 30 quintal available in the market. And when price goes to 10 rupees per kg, he makes 50 quintal available in the market. So there is a direct relationship between price and the quantity supplied. When price goes up, quantity supplied gradually increases. Now let us assume that in a particular market there are only two sellers, farm A and farm B. Farm B also behaves in the similar manner. When price increases, quantity offered for sale increases from 20 quintal to 60 quintal. Now, if we want to estimate the market supply schedule, market supply is nothing but summation of all individual supply schedules. Since there are two sellers, so at rupees 6 per kg, this total quantity offered for sale in the market by these two sellers, it comes to 30 quintal. So, quantity supplied by farm A plus quantity supplied by farm B. So, in the process, when price goes up from rupees 6 to 10, quantity offered for sale in the entire market, it increases from 30 quintal to 110 quintal. So, market supply schedule is the various quantities of a commodity that all the farms in a market that they make available at various prices. It is the various quantities of a commodity that all the farms in a market are willing to sell a particular commodity at various prices. Now, supply curve. Supply curve is nothing but it is a graphical representation of supply schedule. Since there are two supply schedules, individual supply schedule as well as the market supply schedule, there will be two types of graphs available to express the relationship between price and the quantity supplied. One is individual supply curve, second is the market supply curve. So, individual supply curve and the market supply curve. Now, individual supply curve is the graphical representation of individual supply schedule. It is a graphical representation of individual supply schedule. And the market supply schedule, market supply curve is nothing but graphical representation of market supply curve. And if we notice the characteristics of these two curves, we find that since price and the quantity supplied both are directly related, we get a positive slope of this supply curve. And when there is a positive slope, the shape of the supply curve will be increasing from left to right. Will be increasing from left to right. I repeat, since the relationship between price and the quantity supplied is direct, or we get a positive slope of the supply curve. And as a result, we find the supply curve is increasing from left to right. So if we draw supply curve, finally it will have a positive slope and it will be increasing from left to right. But in case of demand curve, what we noticed, demand curve had a negative slope because price and the quantity demanded both are inversely related, and as a result of this inverse relationship, demand curve was sloping downward from left to right. But in case of supply, this will be increasing from left to right. This is a market supply schedule, and this positive slope of the supply curve depicts the direct relationship between price and the quantity supplied. And in case of individual supply curve also, this shape will be like this. You will get the similar slope, similar shape. You represent price on the y-axis and quantity supplied on the x-axis. For increased quantities, the supply will be increasing. If we go on increasing the price of the commodity, that will make more commodities offered for sale in the market. Had there been a negative relationship, this curve will be decreasing from left to right. This was the shape of the demand curve. Now this is the shape of the supply curve, which is increasing from left to right because it has a positive or direct relationship between price and the quantity supplied. Now third form of representation of relationship between price and the quantity supplied is the supply function. And in case of supply function, quantity supplied is expressed as a mathematical function of price. And the supply function, it can be written as QS, quantity supplied, is equal to C plus dP. It is a straight line supply function, where C indicates the horizontal intercept of the equation, or the quantity supplied when the price is 0. C indicates the quantity that is offered for sale when the price is 0. And D indicates the slope of the function. D indicates the slope of the function. So usually if we just, this is a mathematical function with numerical values. Quantity supplied is 0 plus 0.02p. That means when price is 0, quantity supplied is 0. That means the supply curve originates from the origin. It starts from the origin. When there is no price of the commodity, there is no quantity supplied, or there is no quantity available in the market. But as price goes up, quantity supplied will be increasing by this component, 0.02. This is the slope of the function. If we differentiate this equation, dQs by dP, then you will get this T. This is the first derivative. D is the first derivative of the supply function. That indicates the slope of the supply curve. Now, changes in supply. In case of demand analysis, we found that demand is affected by factors like price, income of the consumer, habit, taste and fashion of the consumer, prices of related goods, etc. And these all factors we group into two. Group 1, price alone, and all other factors apart from the price in another group. Now if in case of supply also, we group all the factors that affect quantity supply into two groups. In the first group, only the price, and in the second group, all other factors except the price. Now when price affect changes in the quantity supplied, that is called change in the quantity supplied. It is the quantity changed, quantity supplied changed as a result of changes in the price of the commodity. And in the process, all other factors are held constant. This is change in the quantity supplied. In this particular case, we find only one supply curve. And there is a movement along the same supply curve, either upward or downward. Like in case of demand curve also, changes in quantity demanded, there was only one demand curve and there was movement on that demand curve either upward or downward. And that movement was brought about by price alone, and all other factors are held constant. Similarly, in case of changes in quantity supplied, the changes are brought about by price only, and all other factors are considered constant. And this can be graphically represented as, this is the supply curve, and as a result at P0 quantity supplied was Q0, and when price goes up, quantity supplied increases. There is a upward movement along the supply curve, and when price comes down from P0 to P2, this quantity supplied decreased from Q0 to Q2, and there was a movement along the same demand curve, and the movement was downward. The movement was downward. So in case of change in the quantity supplied, these changes can be expressed along a single supply curve. There is a movement along the single supply curve. There is no two separate supply curve. We need to explain the change in the quantity supplied. But if we consider other factors, apart from price, we keep price as constant, but all other factors that are variable one by one, then we find change in supply. And this change in supply can be expressed by a new supply curve either to the right or the left of the original one. And that we call it as change in supply. But when there are changes in quantity supplied as a result of price, we call it change in quantity supplied. This is change in supply. Here, it is a shift in the entire supply curve either to the left or to the right as a result of changes in factors other than the price. As a result of changes in factors other than the price. These factors may be anything: prices of related goods, expectation about future prices, income of the seller, all other things. And if the determinants of supply other than the price act favorably, there is expansion in supply. That means at a certain price level, more quantities are offered for sale. The price at price rupees 10 per kg, usually 10 quintals are offered for sale. Because of favorable condition, more than 10 quintal may be offered for sale by sellers at price rupees 10 per kg. Now suppose at 40 rupees per kg, quantity offered for sale is 30 quintal. But the situation goes against the seller, so he wants to sell more at the same, sell less at the same price. So he withdraws the commodity from the market. So he sells less than the quantity offered for sale than before at the same price. So that is contraction in supply. Because the condition in the market is unfavorable to the sellers, he withdraws the commodity from the market at the same price. The situation is unfavorable, so he withdraws the commodity from the market and there is a contraction in supply. But when the conditions are favorable, he sells more at the same price. That is called expansion in supply. Now these two situations, expansion in supply and contraction in supply, these two situations can be expressed only by a new supply curve, either to the right or to the left of the original one. In case of expansion in supply, we find a new supply curve to the right of the original one. To the right of the original one. But in case of contraction in supply, we find a new supply curve to the left of the original one. This is how it moves, the supply curve moves. This is the original supply curve. Now the condition becomes favorable. At price P0, there is no change in the price. Other conditions are favorable, so he sells more in the market. The quantity supplied increases from OQ0 to OQ1. So there is a new supply curve S1, which is to the right of the original one. There is no change in the price of the commodity. This is constant at P0, but because of favorable condition in the market, this may be either improvement in technology, increase in the number of producers, then other factors which are affecting the supply, then supply curve is shifted to the right. But in case of unfavorable situations, the supply is withdrawn from the market from OQ0 to OQ2. The supply is withdrawn and the new supply curve S2 we obtain, which is to the left of the original one. Which is to the left of the original one. In case of favorable conditions, there is expansion in supply, and that can be expressed by a supply curve to the right of the original one. But in case of unfavorable situations, there is contraction in supply, and that can be explained by a supply curve to the left of the original one. This particular graph we can split into two for expansion and contraction of supplies. And these graphs will be like this. These are the two situations. It is exactly the same from of the earlier graph that I have shown you, but that is split into two separate graphs. This is increase in supply. There is, or this is called expansion in supply. The conditions are favorable for the sellers. Here there is decrease in supply. The supply curve is shifted to the left because of unfavorable situations prevailing in the market. In the earlier graph, these two curves are shown together, but in these two curves, the earlier graph was split into two to express either expansion as well as the contraction in the supply. We have learned today what is supply. Is it not? What is supply? Supply is nothing but quantity that is offered for sale by a seller at various prices. Supply is expressed, or this particular concept is important from the point of a seller. It is because the seller's interest is to sell more at higher prices. So ultimately we find a direct relationship between price and the quantity supplied. If price goes up, sellers make more goods available in the market, so supply increases. And if price goes down, sellers do not want to sell more in the market, so they withdraw the commodity from the market and supply decreases. So ultimately, because of this direct relationship, we find a law of supply which states that if price of a commodity increases, its quantity supplied increases. If price of a commodity comes down, its quantity supplied also comes down. Other things remaining the same. And this particular relationship, that is direct relationship between price and the quantity supplied, can be expressed by three different ways. One is tabular method, graphical method, and the functional method. Tabular method is nothing but it is expressed in the form of a supply schedule. It is the tabular representation of price and the quantity supplied. Graphical representation method is the graphical form of representation of supply schedule. So ultimately there are two groups of people in the market: individual seller and the group of sellers in the market. So we find two different types of supply schedules: individual supply schedule and the market supply schedule. And in the same process, when we convert it into a graph, we find individual supply curve and the market supply curve. And in the functional method, it is a mathematical relationship between price and the quantity supplied. And mathematically, we can establish a functional relationship between these two. And when we express the price and quantity supplied relationship, we find, since there is a direct relationship, slope of the supply curve is positive, and hence the supply curve increases from left to right. And now, since supply changes as a result of change in the price, we find two types of changes. One is change brought about by price alone, change in quantity supplied brought about by factors other than the price. If in case of change in quantity supplied, price is only responsible, and that can be explained on the basis of a single supply curve. So there is a movement on a particular supply curve. But in case of change in supply, these changes in supply are brought about by factors other than the price, and this can only be explained with the help of a new supply curve, which is either right or left of the original one. In case of favorable conditions for the seller, we find expansion in supply because sellers sell more at the existing price. And in this case, the supply curve is shifted to the right of the original one. But in case of unfavorable situations for the seller, the supply is withdrawn from the market, and as a result, change in supply decreases from the market, and this can only be explained by a new supply curve which is to the left of the original one. And this is what we call as contraction in supply.